Hello, folks. Welcome back. Chris in Central Pennsylvania. A few days ago, News 24 ran a story about a very significant land transfer to indigenous South Africans. Of course, they're not indigenous. We're talking about primarily Nguni-speaking South Africans, apparently, according to the story. And therefore, they're not indigenous. The Khoi and San are so-called indigenous peoples. The Nguni speakers and those of European descent are interlopers and colonists who settled in South Africa later. The indigenous population, if such a thing can exist in a society, would be the Khoi and San, not the others. Nonetheless, President Ramaphosa resorted to a racist dog whistle, saying there'll be no more boss in a government-restored 17,000-hectare tract of land on the South Coast. Now, that's important for those who don't know South Africa, but if you're from West Africa, you hear patron, or also in Latin America, and this is a deference to colonial superiors. In South Africa, the term was boss, which comes from Afrikaans, which means boss. It was a term that I was very uncomfortable with when I first started traveling in South Africa about 30 years ago, when a lot of people are still conditioned as experience of life to use this term, and I was addressed as boss frequently by people. I'm nobody's boss, and it was really uncomfortable. But anyone who knows the term and knows its context is it's a racist dog whistle when you use it in the fashion that Ramaphosa used it. Now, those are the words he used at a ceremony where the state handed over title deeds to previously disadvantaged communities in KwaZulu-Natal. These are groups that were apparently dispossessed of their land rights in the area. The land claim covered more than 17,000 hectares, and it began 27 years ago, which of course raises a question. Why did it take the South African government, majority ruled by the ANC until the 2024 national elections, throughout its entire history since 1994, for 30 years, why did it take that long, 27 years, for this majority black government, led by a so-called liberation movement, to restore 17,000 hectares of land? Now, you might be saying, well, Chris, that's not fair. They had to buy the land back, willing buyer, willing seller. No, the land belonged to the government, ladies and gentlemen. The ANC sat on this land for decades. The land was in the possession of the government, not private landowners. In fact, timber companies have been doing forestry on the land and paying the money to the government. Only now, when the ANC is under pressure, do they actually try to return this land to the people. But they haven't returned it to the people. They've returned it, apparently, to community property associations based on the way the story is written. A community property association does not hand land title to an individual, but keeps it in communal property, much like the Normandyian Trust. So, that is a whole system fraught with potential for fraud. So let's continue this story. 2,800 people from St. Paul and Njundini and the Nzamakulu community, as well as the Lawrence family, have benefited from the handover. But have they? And apparently 571 of the beneficiaries were women. You see, the land was owned by fisheries and the environment and a private company for commercial forestry use. So some of it was privately owned. But the land will continue being used for commercial forestry, so the people won't be able to use the land. It's still going to be used for commercial forestry, but the royalties will now go to the claimants. So again, as I mentioned, the term boss translates to boss, but it's a racist dog whistle, and it was no mistake that Ramaphosa used it. Just like it was no mistake last year in the Oval Office when he lied to President Trump about, Mr. President, have they told you where this is? When it came to the video with the Normandyian crosses in honor of Glenn and Vita Rafferty, who were butchered on their farm in South Africa, as well as those 1,000 people whose names were commemorated on those crosses. He knew where that was. That was all over South African media. There's no way he didn't know. He added that they're now the owners, and whether they like it or not from today, the companies involved must treat the claims as equal. There'll be no more boss. Why do you automatically defer or accuse the companies whether they like it or not? You see, the land transfer could have happened 27 years ago, 26 years ago, 25 years, 24, 23, 22, even 20 years ago. You could have transferred this land, especially that under state control, and you could negotiate something with the forestry group. But no, you kept it because this is a tool to control the population and to curry votes by making black South Africans dependent on the state. And the state, until 2024, was exclusively the ANC. That's what it's all about. Ramaphosa said training will be provided to the descendants of the land so they can work the forest. Okay, 2,800 foresters out there now. Somehow that doesn't seem like it's going to work out very well. Now, he hailed the handover as a significant milestone in government's ongoing efforts to address historical land dispossession and restore land rights to the rightful beneficiaries. Well, rightful beneficiaries is a questionable thing. I have no objection to this group of people getting access to this land, but I prefer that they get individual title to it. Of course, these people weren't individually dispossessed, therefore they aren't getting individual repossession. So they're keeping them dependent. Now, in order to convey his message, he referred to two historical stories, one of which, of course, is Sol Plaatje's book, Native Life in South Africa, and he referred to the 1913 Native Lands Act, which did not set aside all the land for whites, despite the lies told in history. Subsequent legislation, which came into place after the apartheid-era government was elected in 1948, is what led to the major restrictions on land ownership, particularly for Black South Africans. Ramaphosa said that the land will continue to be maintained and utilized for commercial forestry, but the claimant communities are now the legal owners and will receive rental income from the use of their land. So why did they have to wait 27 years? Now, he also called on communal property associations, CPAs, to use the financial benefits from this land restitution to develop their communities and to ensure that this prosperity is shared by all. So again, this land wasn't given to anybody, it was given to a CPA. So a CPA will administer this land. Now, how is a CPA any better than the ANC running things, other than it's at the local level? Yeah, this is nonsense. But hey, it's the ANC. We've made it better. No, it's historic, but not really. Turn the land over to individuals who are dispossessed. And then we can see some improvement in South Africa. Cheers.